What is up, guys? Again, NotTheWorst here, bringing another Black Desert online video, and today we're taking a look at another silver breakdown video, this time the Elvia spot for Fogans. So if you're not familiar with where that zone is, it is just southeast of Glish, as you can see here. Node manager is this guy on this southern Naga node right here. If you want to pick up the daily quests for those predator routes like all of the Elvia spots have, you get it from that node manager itself, so you can jump on over to him and pick that up in the daytime. As far as the requirements for it, you can see that it recommends 270 AP. I would tell you that, yeah, 269 Kudum is like fair enough to be able to do this, but in all honesty, you can probably make more money elsewhere because the damage you're outputting is not too amazing at 269. You probably want to be a little bit higher than that to make it worth your while. DP wise, I would say minimum 330. The mobs individually don't hit very hard, but you can get very quickly a large group of them on you, and you will definitely be taking some damage really quickly. That's going to vary a bit based on your class. Obviously, higher sustained classes are going to have an easier time with that than what some of the worse off ones were. Frenzy drafts in some cases for most people. I was running 297 main hand with a pen black star and 371 DP in my Kudum setup doing this, so obviously I had far more gear than what's required for it, or at least what you would need. Let me show you the rotation that I used. As you can see, it's a pretty large area. You have these two giant ponds, and then there are also tons of mobs alongside the banks, as I mentioned. So you can kind of just do whatever and make a rotation out of anything. There's tons of room here in general, and since this has been out for a little bit now, it's not nearly as populated as it was before. Personally, I would just go through a corner and just make a little sweep, you know, around in a giant circle like this. It's pretty straightforward here, and you can get probably a half circle up to where that little guy with that quest sitting there. You probably go around to here and then manage to get the respawn starting to go, maybe pull a couple more in. Somebody else could run the other side of that pond. You could go to the northern side over here and do kind of the same thing on half the pond if you wanted to. You could jump into some of the little banks as well if you wanted to if you're over clearing to pick up some extra packs. It's really not complicated, which has been kind of the nice thing to all of these Elvia spots overall. Of course, if you get the Elvia weapon, you're going to end up expanding it. Anytime I had those, I was coming up through these banks along here as well, because obviously the clear time drastically picks up, and you're going to need more than just your little basic semicircle to get kind of a decent rotation going, but nothing too crazy. As far as for the mechanics for this spot, they do have a stun that hits, I mean, barely ever, so that does exist. There are also these elites and violent dudes. You can see on the mini map, they'll mark these little violent guys here. So they'll drop a little bit more trash for you. You have these guys which drop blackstones pretty much every time you're killing them, and they also have a really good chance to drop Seed of Void. You'll note when we come to the spreadsheets for that, the numbers on the Seed of Void was quite a bit higher than what we saw at Nagas, which is fairly comparable to this zone, and that is because of those guys' drop rate, those bigger dudes there. So definitely you want to attack those when you can, when you have them. I would recommend trying to bring them over to groups of mobs. I didn't initially, and you'll see the trash loot until I started realizing that, but if you have one, obviously kill a group of mobs and he'll still be alive since he has more HP. You can drag him over to your next pack of mobs as well, so you're kind of continuously keeping your trash loot pretty consistent. That way, I'd definitely recommend doing it that way rather than the route that I did. Aside from that, you can also get a rare spawn for the Tidium boss. So he will just show up based on, it's actually an item that drops off of the mobs. It does not show up in your loot table, is what triggers him. If you actually manually looted all of the drops that happen there, you could actually see the item. I don't know what it's called because I didn't do that myself, but that's what triggers him. So it's just a rare chance. It is affected by drop rate as well, so you'll have a higher chance of spawning it with higher drop rate percentage. But yeah, he can be pretty tough. Same thing I would recommend. I didn't do it here, but when you're fighting him, you can also move him around to other packs of mobs, which again will keep your trash loot consistent. Obviously, the more boss spawns you have, it's going to keep your trash a little bit lower. But then again, he has a much better chance for dropping rare items, so you know it's not terrible either way. It's going to be pretty good money. And before we take a look at the spreadsheets, let me just cover the setup that I was doing for this. I started this at node level 5. I did manage to get it up to level 9. Only the last hour was at level 9 from there. Ran a combo blessing at all times. I have 12% drop rate for ecology, 4% pet drop rate. This was during an event, so it was Arsha 50% buff on all servers at the time, so the 50% drop rate from that, and this was blue loot scroll with no agris. I didn't really try hard this with like frenzy drafts full on and going anything like that. I just ran a basic giants draft alongside it, so it wasn't like top end of what you could possibly do. I kind of just chilled out while doing it. So let's go ahead and take a look at the spreadsheets and see how we turned up. Okay, so first up, as far as our average, we came pretty much right at about 200 mil. This notably is less than Nagas, if you recall or have seen that video. That one was quite a bit more than almost at 250 for that one. The reason for that is your rare drop here, unfortunately, is the DP evasion necklace, which is worth considerably less than the Nagas. At the time of the Nagas video, I think that one has the accuracy necklace. Those were going for 150. I think they're down to 140, 140 mil a piece right now. This one having the DP evasion, currently they're at about 36 mil a piece for it. So getting the actual rare drop here, which does not drop very often, is not nearly as exciting and obviously impacts your overall trash loot. As far as the money that you're getting outside of that, it's pretty consistent and not bad at all. And the Blackstones are kind of outrageous thanks to the guaranteed Blackstone drops and multiple Blackstone drops from the elites that you're getting on top of just the regular mobs. Obviously Elvia everywhere drops great Blackstones, but this place in particular kind of tops out your Blackstones overall. As far as factoring the necklace itself, the thing is you need 5 items total. You have to get, or excuse me, 6 items total. You have to have 5 of the cold tears and then 1 of the arid river. The way I factored in, I just put 1 mil for the cold tears base, since they're going for 36 mil, and then 35 on the arid river. This is the same way I factored the Nagas accuracy necklace drop. Reason for that is, as you can see, you're going to get piled up. If you spend any amount of time here, you get piled up with the cold tears. So you melt these down into the liberated Sylvia, Breath of Sylvia, or whatever item. And 5 of those to combine with the arid river. You're going to get a stockpile of these, and you're not going to have a stockpile of the rare item. So the money is obviously going to be on the rare drop, similar to if you were at, say, Sacrea Abyss. Whenever you get a black shard drop, it's pretty much worthless. I think I have over 100 just sitting in my inventory doing nothing. And when you get a red drop, it's essentially a Tungrad ring. So that's how those were factored. As far as other items, we've got the shard. The tearful knight was about 6 per hour. Okiar's Tide is that 3 mil item, the Narc's Lightning equivalent from Nagas. It's I had 8 per hour on that, which wasn't too bad. BMC's 2.5 is what we kind of see. Seed of the Void, these sell for 10 million a piece, so this actually helps your money per hour quite a bit. Because of those elites having a higher drop rate on those Seed of the Voids, these came out pretty nicely. You can see my first hour getting 6. That's 60 mil just in untaxable income right there, so that's really, really nice. Just to compare, Nagas was 2 per hour, this one being 3. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but when we're talking about a 10 mil a piece item, that's a big deal. So this was pretty nice for that. Blackstones averaged 166 for that, which is really, really good. Trash loot was much lower than I had at Nagas. Again, this is because of boss mechanics and elites, and also I had a much tougher time getting lucky with Elvia weapon drops. Obviously, your trash fluctuates drastically based on how many Elvia weapons you got, and I got fairly unlucky, at least compared to the other spots that I've grinded in general there. We see about 3 cold tears per hour, about 1 every 3 hours on the necklace, which isn't too impressive, and 2 massive magic, which was notably worse than what I've seen at other Elvia spots, at least so far. So we had a worse hour at 166 roughly from there, and then a peak hour at being 232 that did have a necklace drop on top of a decent amount of Seed of the Voids. There are 5 of those as well. So overall, this is a pretty solid spot to grind. The thing is, because of the requirements for it, I would probably just recommend Nagas, because you're putting in the same amount of effort for it, but your rare drop is just worth much, much more. So unless you specifically are going for, you need these shards or something like that, and you're in the AP range to do this, I would just stick with Nagas between the two. If you have higher AP, there's higher zones in Elvia that you can deal with, but I don't see a whole lot of reason to bother with this over, say, the Nagas part, because you're just running against that rare drop. So that's my take on it. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe so you get notifications when new videos do go live. If you'd like to catch me playing live, there's a link to my Twitch page in the description down below. You can head on over there and drop a follow. I do most of these grinds on stream while I'm doing it, so if you want to check it out or see what I'm working on, what videos coming up next, you can always pop in while I'm working on that, or even just ask me if I'm not grinding at the time. So with that said, that's going to be it for this one. I want to thank everybody for watching, and I will see you next time.